Today, we're working on our Wrangler redo project. Ryan's adding LED lighting, doing a sound system upgrade, making performance upgrades, adding a soft top, and installing a new exhaust on our dual-purpose four-wheel drive converted 2007 Wrangler. It's all today here on Truck Tech.
Hey guys, welcome to Truck Tech. Now here at PowerNation, or in this shop anyway, we've got a tendency to focus on vehicle performance and appearance, whether it's adding horsepower and torque or improving systems like suspensions, brakes, or drivetrains. And we've shown you plenty of sheet metal modifications and how to lay down a nice paint job. And that means we can be guilty of kind of overlooking some of the other things that make for a more complete and enjoyable driving experience. Things like a sound system, interior upgrades, and supplemental lighting. So that's exactly what we're going to focus on today. In addition to that, we are going to try to squeeze a few more ponies out of the somewhat underpowered 3.8-liter V6 underneath the hood of our '07 Jeep Wrangler. Now the modifications we've got planned for today will either complement the factory components or integrate with them really cleanly. No need to reinvent the wheel with some of this stuff. So for our sound system upgrade, we went to Kicker and picked up one of their VSS Power Stage kits. VSS stands for Vehicle Specific Solutions, meaning all of this stuff will either bolt on or be plug and play with all the factory wiring and components. The kit includes direct plug-in wiring, a 200-watt subwoofer amplifier, a 4-channel digital sound processor with a built-in amp, and all the necessary bracketry and hardware. And of course, the heart of the system, a 10-inch square Kicker subwoofer. Step 1 of the installation is removing a couple of the plastic trim panels that surround the HVAC controls. Then you can remove the 4 screws holding the HVAC panel in place and set that panel to the side. Then remove the screws to the radio and slide it out. After that, carefully remove the antenna and the wiring harness at the back of the radio. Then you can remove the trim panel below the steering column, along with this metal reinforcement plate. Then you can slide the bracket and the digital sound processor into position. Now it uses existing holes and existing hardware. You just have to line them up. Then temporarily install the 2 top screws and attach the bottom screw. Then carefully route the harness up to the cavity for the radio. Then to make sure the wiring doesn't get bundled up and jammed up when sliding the radio back into position, route it behind this metal post. What this does is basically intercept the signals coming to and from the radio and modify them and improve them. Like I said, everything's a factory style connector and it plugs right in. And simply slide the radio back into position and secure it using the hardware. After that, it's back under the steering column to install the subwoofer amp, which again uses existing holes and hardware. Once you have it positioned, you can secure it using the 2 bolts you removed earlier. Then remove the 2 bolts you temporarily installed and install the knee bolster or reinforcement plate. Then reinstall those 2 bolts. Now it's time for some wiring, starting with attaching the power harness to the positive cable of the battery and routing the harness along the top of the firewall. Now to get it through the firewall, I'm removing this plug conveniently located at the top corner. And once I punch a hole in the plug, I can pass the wires through it and on into the interior. And once the firewall plug or grommet is reinstalled, you can remove any slack in the harness by pulling it towards the interior. All right, now we've got our power harnesses routed through the firewall and we've attached the supplied connectors. So all we've got left to do is make a handful of plug-and-play connections and then route the subwoofer harness to the back of the Jeep, tucking things neatly underneath the carpet and the plastic trim. And with that out of the way, next up was this super simple task of installing the subwoofer. After making one quick electrical connection, I can secure the subwoofer underneath the fold-forward rear seat by simply lining up the brackets on the back of the sub box with the anchors on the back of the seat, then locking it in the upright position. Isn't that pretty good? Wow, nice. All right, now I've got the ground connections made, I plugged in the inline fuses, checked everything over. Now it's time to see how this thing sounds. That's a big improvement over the factory sound system, which is especially nice considering this Jeep going down the highway at 70 miles an hour isn't exactly quiet. And that extra kick will come in really handy. And if you need to take the subwoofer out for extra cargo space, well, it comes out just as easily as it went in. Nice.
After the break, we'll get our LED lights installed. And later, we'll do our performance upgrades and get our exhaust installed. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome back to Truck Tech. Well, we've got our kicker sound system upgrade complete, and it was a fun project. Everything was bolt in or plug and play, and the wiring wasn't a hassle at all. And it's certainly something you could knock out in the afternoon and be rocking and rolling by that evening. So we're going to move on to our lighting upgrade. And just like our stereo project, well, this stuff is going to work with some of the factory components. Let's go check out what we've got. These are LEDs that we picked up from Oracle. This is a 22-inch, 120-watt light bar with mounting brackets. This is an 8-inch, 40-watt sleek LED bar. But check this out. These are replacement mirror housings just for the JK. What they do is take advantage of the dead space behind the glass and install an off-road LED light. Pretty cool. And installation should be easy as pie. Don't drop the mirror. It's bad luck. What you're essentially doing with this process is removing the guts from the factory mirror and reinstalling them in the replacement mirror housing. And after separating the glass from the mirror post or support, you can install that post into the new housing, making sure to route the wiring along with the post. Then you can secure it to the new housing. Again, routing the wire through the mounting attachment points that go to the door. To the door. All right, now before I hang the mirror on the outside of the door, I want to remove the interior door panel so I can cleanly route the wiring. After removing 4 Phillips head screws and the window crank handle, you can start prying the door panel loose, being careful not to break the plastic retainers. Then, using the mirror base gasket as a guide, I'm drilling a hole for the new wiring to pass through, along with a couple of extra holes in the inside of the door. Don't be tempted to use the hole above the one I'm drilling. That's used to locate the door panel. And as a rust preventative on the freshly drilled exterior hole, I'm hitting it with a little bit of spray paint. Now it's time for the task of routing the small wiring through the small holes. It can be a little bit tedious. All right, got it. But a little bit of patience goes a long way. And you can route the wires to the inside cleanly. Now I can temporarily hang that by a couple of mounting screws. Just make sure you route your wires to avoid any moving parts or the window tracks inside the door. All right, now it's more operation. All right, think I'm gonna get lucky here. Look at that, carefully. All right. Then all we have to do is run the wires down the inner door panel. Oh, that worked out well. Sneak this zip tie through there, yep. I'm simply drilling a couple of small holes in the plastic flange so I can zip tie the wires to it. The rest will be hidden behind the door panel. Now, getting the somewhat flimsy wires through the fabric door restraint can be a pain in the neck. So I ran a hard plastic line through the fabric retainer, taped the wires to the end, and then quickly removed them. Made the job a piece of cake. Cool. And before reinstalling the door panel, I'm putting a dab of Loctite Weatherstrip adhesive around the wires where it passes through the sheet metal. This will prevent the wires from rattling or the insulation from getting damaged. And after slapping the door panel back into position and seating the retainers, you can install the 4 Phillips screws and the crank handle. Then it's back to the mirror housing. Now to install the glass, you simply install the hooks at the bottom and fold it towards the top until it clips into position. You again. Now, some of the dash trim pieces are essentially flat plastic. Nothing wrong with it, but you can always use more storage, and we need a spot for both our air locker and fog light switches. So we went to Daystar and picked up a couple of replacement panels. This one offers a little bit more storage, while this one will house up to 4 air locker or fog light switches. All we've got to do is cut the openings. Now, the cut lines are molded into the plastic. All you've got to do is basically trace them. I'm using a utility knife with a fresh blade on it, being careful not to overcut the opening. Nope. Nice. And after cutting all 4 openings and adding our switch wiring, we now have a good, convenient home for all of our accessories. Slick. This dash top panel pops right into position after you swap over the metal retainers from the factory piece. Piece of cake. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Now, with our other projects taken care of, we can move on to coaxing some more power out of the 3.8 liter V6 underneath the hood. Now, in factory form, that engine makes around 200 horsepower, and I'll be nice and say that's sufficient for a stock Jeep. But add a lift kit, larger and heavier tires and wheels, steel bumpers, and a winch, and let's just say this thing can use all the extra horsepower and torque we can throw at it. So we're going to be installing the trifecta of performance parts. We've got a cold air intake, a tuner or a programmer, and a free-flowing exhaust system. For the intake, we went to Airaid and picked up one of their kits that includes this aluminum lid protecting the airbox and the filter inside. You don't want a bunch of muddy water raining down all over our SynthaMax dry air filter. The tuner is from Hypertech. It's their max energy power programmer. It'll not only maximize the horsepower and torque output, but we can use it for other things like recalibrating the speedometer, adjusting transmission shift points and firmness, and controlling the cooling fan on and off temperatures. The exhaust system is from Gibson. It's one of their high-flow stainless steel axle back kits. It includes 2.5-inch mandrel bent tubing, a high-flow muffler, and a nice polished stainless steel exhaust tip. And just like all the projects we've done today, the installation of these parts is simple and straightforward. Step 1 is removing the factory airbox and intake tube. Then you can install these threaded insert grommets into the factory locations. Install the new intake tube to the throttle body, rotate it down into position, and secure it using the supplied hardware. After that, you can drop in the high-flow air filter and secure it using the supplied band clamp. Then, once you apply the gasket to the new aluminum lid, drop it into place and tighten down the 4 bolts. Then install the air temp sensor that you removed from the factory air intake tube. Make the connections and route the wiring. Then snug down the hose clamp attaching it to the throttle body, reconnect the breather tube, and tighten down the clamp. You're done. At the back of the Jeep, we start the exhaust system installation by hanging the muffler inlet and attaching it to the stock exhaust. And just snugging down the provided exhaust clamp. Snug for now. Then we can add the clamp to the pipe, attach the muffler, and rotate it into position, and persuading it to go on. Then we can add the short section of tailpipe and attach it to the factory hanger, and install it into the muffler. Again, just snugging down the clamps until we add the polished tip. Once everything's lined up, we'll go back and make sure everything is good and tight. And to make sure the tip's not vulnerable to trail damage, I'm locating it so it's protected by the rear bumper. All right, with our intake and exhaust done, all we've got left to do to finish up our power upgrades is to plug our Hypertech Max Energy programmer into the OBD2 port and follow a few on-screen prompts. We'll be making more horsepower and torque and taking advantage of the extra breathing capabilities of our V6. And hopefully, we'll be able to turn these 37-inch tires a little bit easier. Speaking of which, we're going to recalibrate our speedometer to make sure it's accurate as well.
When we come back, we'll install our new soft top. Stick around.
Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Now before we get out of here for the day, we've got one more thing we want to take care of. This Jeep is an 07, which means the factory soft top has pretty much burned through its useful life. It was in pretty rough shape. But rather than replace it with just another factory soft top, we're going to try a frameless trail top that we picked up from Rampage Products. Step 1 is installing the new door surrounds. It's what allows the doors to seal to the top. Now this top will work with both the full steel doors and the half doors. That work? After that, we can throw the top up on the roll bar and start setting it into place. Now I did go ahead and set the top out in the sun for a few hours to let it soften up and to make it easier to work with. Then we can attach the windshield header bar and start working our way towards the rear of the Jeep. Then we can zip in the tinted rear windows. Now you can get clear windows if you want. We opted for the tinted. Now you don't want to try to install this top in the winter in Colorado. Warmer weather is definitely your friend, and it will allow the fabric to soften up a little bit. Now the material itself is a heavy-duty sailcloth material, which is the same or very similar to the OE fabric. And with the rear and side windows attached with the marine-grade zippers, we can start working the channel into the door surround. Followed by working the plastic into the belt rail at the bottom. Now the rear window has a tailgate bar attached to the bottom of it, and it fits into tailgate bar brackets similar to the way an OE top does. Once everything's attached, you can finally fold the top all the way down and attach the tension straps to the rear belt rail. Is that maximum length? These are what pull the top tight over the factory roll bar and allows the top to work without any complicated frame and bow system. Just don't pull the straps too tight. Now to complete the installation, I installed the 4 support bows that prevent water from puddling on the roof. This thing's also got a couple of handy overhead storage pockets. Now the cool thing about this top, it's essentially 2 tops in one. It's a cool looking, complete fastback style soft top, or it can be quickly and easily converted to a safari top by removing these retention straps, unzipping the windows, storing them in the rooftop pocket, and reattaching these straps. And that'll prevent the windows from getting scratched up and damaged when they're not installed. But now, let's kill some of these room lights, see how bright these LEDs are. Let there be light. Not bad for a few LEDs. And those suckers are bright. Now with the release of the new aluminum body F-150, the need for the ability to weld aluminum is increasing, especially in collision shops. So Miller has just released their new Miller-Matic 350P auto body aluminum repair system. The welder includes an 8-inch roll of 047 aluminum wire and a new MIG gun with just a 30-degree head tube for better aluminum wire delivery. It also includes all the components spec'd out by Ford for a correct repair. So if you're a collision tech or you're in the auto body world, you need to check out the new Miller-Matic 350P. Now, if you've got a 40s or 50s era Chevy pickup and you want to get rid of the in-cab fuel tank, well, Brothers Truck Parts has a great solution for you. This new fuel tank goes underneath the bed floor and between the frame rails and includes a new sending unit, filler neck, and mounting hardware. So if you're in the market for a new fuel tank for your old Chevy, check out Brothers Truck Parts. Guys, thanks for watching Truck Tech. See you next time.